Welcome. We are back at it again, journeying through the scriptures. We got a good one today. It's only a verse that I want to talk about today. It's an interesting concept. It's an interesting piece of the text. Interesting concept. Interesting piece of the text. Interesting piece where Jesus is giving instruction on how to engage and go out and and he's given instructions to his disciples. Remember, we had talked about uh, we're in Matthew chapter 10, and he started giving his instructions to disciples and talking about where they were supposed to go, who they were supposed to go to, what they were supposed to do to authenticate the message of the kingdom, healing the sick, casting out demons. What is it? Healing the sick, casting out demons, raising the dead, cleansing lepers. That was to authenticate the message of the kingdom that was going forward, and then also, for those people who rejected them, where they were to reject them. So for the people that rejected him, shake the dust off of your feet, leave. You know what I'm saying? Demonstrate some disdain. That's what actually that 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 not movement, but that practice was. And um and and so and the and he then talked about the consequences of those people who would reject them and stuff like that. So the next part is he says this: look, behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves, so be shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves. That's verse 16 of Matthew chapter 10. And so what are we talking about here? What are we talking? At first, when I first used to read this, I used to think, man, how can the image of a serpent, the image of a snake, has such a bad connotation, because it 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 uh it has a it represents Satan in Genesis, and the guile by which he beguiled um, Adam. I mean, even Adam and Eve and stuff. It calls the fall of man, or you know what I'm saying. So, like, the image of the serpent is not a good image. So I was not thinking like, hey, to me it didn't mesh. So, but now I'm thinking about it again, and let's look at it. He's saying that I'm sending you as sheep among wolves, so you're vulnerable. You know what I mean? You're vulnerable to attack. You're vulnerable to be devoured. People are going to try, and he goes on and talks about how they are going to do this later on. Those wolves, those people, the people that are wolves in sheep's clothing, the people who seek their own, are seeking for their own selves, and not thinking about anybody else but themselves and stuff like that. So going out as sheep, he says, I send you as sheep among wolves. The question is, why are you doing that? Well, the sheep also is dependent upon the shepherd, the good shepherd, Jesus, and the shepherd is the one who provides and protects them, right? But they're still sheep among wolves, though. They're still in that dependent state. So in that dependent state, what they need to be is shrewd or wise as a serpent. Now, the serpent recognize. Let's look at the characteristics of the serpent. The snake, he is on his belly. The snake, he is cold-blooded. He is vulnerable from attack from above. And then he only has like one weapon. He can, depending on what type of snake, he has one weapon of defense or of offense, which is, if it's venomous, his fangs, or if he's big, his constricting power. And then there's but really, they can camouflage, and that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? So the snake though is very patient and waits for his prey to come along, and strikes when he needs. It's not like the snake is not aware that he is a snake. The snake is very aware that he's a snake. He's a snake, and utilizes his capabilities to the best of his ability. So what does that say? Is we're going out as sheep among wolves. We're take on the wisdom, as the wisdom and the shrewdness of a serpent, which is, hey, They are patient. They recognize their abilities. They recognize their limitations, and it's not like they use deceptive tactics. They use what is available to them to use, and so when they strike in an instant, and the prey that when they're stricken by the snake knows they're being stricken by a snake. There's no doubt about it. It comes out of nowhere though, and but the snake is very aware that he is a snake and stuff. So with that being said, it also says be innocent as doves. So you're vulnerable. You're a sheep in amongst wolves. So you're in a dangerous situation. You could be devoured. But because you can be devoured, you should be wise and know your limitations, know your abilities, know what you can and cannot do. Know that your savior is the one who is protecting you. Know that he is the one that is the provider. But don't go ahead and put yourself in. And you don't have to put yourself in situations where you can be devoured or taken advantage of or taken out. You can be wise about these things. There comes the be innocent as doves. There then is no sin or no intentional willful sin that is committed on your behalf. You are not being deceptive. You're not being backbiting. You don't try to devalue another person. I talked about that earlier. The basicness of sin is devaluing the image of God in another person and treating them less than. You don't do that. We don't do that. We treat them as the image of. We treat each other as the image of God, as if we were engaging something that was very precious and priceless, which we are. A person is that and stuff. But at the same time, they're still plugged into the matrix. They can be an agent at any time and stuff like that. So we have to be wise and in engaging them. And if people don't get the Matrix reference, go look it up. Go watch it. It's a good movie. But so what are we saying? What is Jesus saying here? Knowing your situation, knowing your circumstances, act accordingly, following the mandate that I have given you, and do not sin and stuff like that. So don't be he says be blameless. Don't give occasion for someone to bring an accusation against you because of your behavior, your actions, and stuff like that. Here's an illustration that I have. Once when I first bought my car, I didn't know anything about it. Bought a car. When I bought my first car, I should say, and didn't know anything about that whole thing. What I should have done was taking somebody who was experienced, taking somebody who can walk me through that process, and but I rushed and went and did it on my own. Went to this place called Ugly Duckling, and I got this. It was the reason why they were called Ugly Duckling, because they sold lemons, and that was their whole thing. So bad broken down cars and stuff like that, used car lot. So I went over there, bought a car, and didn't pay attention to the contract, and signed this contract to pay for this thing that I couldn't pay. And they gave me this car, and I came and I drove it off the lot, and I didn't get a block before it turned off on me and stuff like that. It just kept shutting off. It had an issue with it. So like I went back home, and I was like, dang man, I have this car that barely works. It works, but it barely works. And I have this payment that I don't know if I can make the payment and stuff like that. So I then contact my dad. He had to practice law before, not at this point in time, he was practicing law. He had his own business as a paralegal, writing appeals for attorneys and stuff. So I contacted my dad. I was like, yo, I'm in this situation. He said, send me the contract. He looks over the contract, can't find anything really wrong. Looks like a good contract. And then but he agrees to go with me to take the car back. So we go and take the car back, and they're like, you're in the contract. You sign this contract. You can bring the car back, but you still got to be paying for this stuff. So Pops ends up looking through the contract some more and finds that there's a loophole in there. So they messed up too. Basically, the money that I put down on the car was not applied to the car, but it was actually added to the total value of the car. You know what I'm saying? So there was some fraudulent stuff that was going on. Pops caught him in him, caught it, called him on it, and I was able to get my money back and get out of the contract. Now, had I taken somebody and been wise about my situation, knowing that I wasn't someone who was experienced in buying a car, probably shouldn't go to this place that is known for giving bad car or selling bad cars. Had I taken somebody with experience, I probably wouldn't have been in that situation. Although my dad was there to help me out of it, it was a predicament that I placed myself in by not being shrewd, not being wise about the situation. And that's the same thing that we can get ourselves in as Christians. We need to be wise about our limitations, our circumstances, and we are supposed to carry out the mandate of sharing the gospel and following the will of God, which in this world, there are many temptations and things that are trying to destroy us and devour us, so that we will not do that. So we got to be wise in doing in following the mandate. And God is there. Jesus is there to protect us and provide for us. This has been Apologetic. Sorry if I don't apologize. You guys have a blessed day.